how do I get into leadership? I believe both of you have had leadership positions in different avenues in life, and I would love to know.
Avoid it.
Yeah, and I think you're being serious. I think you're being serious, and that's fair. But you have had. I don't mean being a father, which should be a leader, but we know it's not always the case. We've talked a lot about that. But in your careers or working with churches, whatever it might have been, how did you end up in leadership?
By being the oldest one there. As a teenager, that's what it boiled down to a lot of times.
It did on right early on. That is kind of one of the things.
Yeah, in Scouts, that's what it was. I was a leader.
You didn't age out, so you're in charge.
Basically, yeah, that's about how it happened. And getting anyone to actually listen to a teenage leader doesn't work.
No, I was born for the uprising, baby. I was a handful. I'm not going to talk about my teenager days. I've had a little good. This scotch worked out just fine. I'm just letting you know. So yeah, but okay. Is that your only leadership story? Because I thought you had some others from the church.
I mean, I've been a leader various times in the church, but all of the church positions are you're asked to do it, and it's temporary. Like you go
just didn't
into
say
it.
No, or
Yeah, basically.
Do they ask everybody?
They ask everyone to do something, whether it's leadership or not. But
no. I mean, like everybody's going to get kind of a turn to be, I don't know, a deacon. I don't know.
Yeah, I've been a deacon, a teacher, a priest. I served the 2-year mission as an elder. So I've done a bunch of different things for the church. But yeah, my uncle for several years was a bishop in Pennsylvania. Currently, I am the building representative, which boils down to I order the
He's the Walmart greeter.
No, I order the cleaning supplies, make sure that they're supplied, and so we have multiple congregations that meet in the same building, and we take turns on whose month it is to clean. And so I order all the supplies, and I basically assign people to clean on the weekends. So
okay.
That's what my current position in the church is.
And you never team lead or anything in any of your jobs?
No. When I was a teenager working at Burger King, they were thinking about making me a manager, but then I moved away. But they're
still waiting for your response today, Joe. You never got back to them.
They're desperate for leadership.
But I get honestly, you're downplaying it. But when you say you have to make sure supplies are there and you have to make sure people are showing up to use those supplies, that takes more than just, I don't know, whatever, you do it, Bob. Right? I mean, you get them to listen to you a little bit. I'm assuming they bring some problems to you. You have to solve a few little issues. How did you start tackling that?
A big part of it's just communication, to be completely honest. And so, like, for instance, when people are assigned the week preceding, I will start a group text with all of the people that have been assigned for the next week to clean. I'm like, hey, this is what you're expected to do. And what we've been doing lately is having them sign up instead of assigning. And so you signed up to clean this week. You need to let me know when you're done. Let me know if you have any issues. I've got a key to the building if you need a key. If none of the people, almost every time someone has a key to the building, because there's like 40 people that have keys to our building. And so, yeah, that's
not a very secure building.
No, well, I mean, there's different layers to the keys. So there's some like
onions. They get layers.
All of the keys will open up the outer doors, but then there's a bunch of inner doors that you have to have more specialized keys to access. But
I want for Christmas.
The building itself is not super secure.
Joe, all I want for Christmas is 2 Mormon keys.
Okay, I don't get it.
Just give me some keys to your church, man, so I can say, I'm a key holder for the Mormon.
Okay.
Have you
Why?
not met me? I am not. This is not that much scotch. I know I am making sense here.
If you say so, but Kurt's given looks
it's
like you're not making sense to him either.
Hugh, I know you get it, Hugh. I know you get. Hugh's known me forever. He knows I like the weirdest things.
Don't you do it?
Come on, Hugh.
Do you want a card that says honorary Mormons? You'd be like, I'm a card carrying member of the church.
Is that a thing?
I can print one.
Oh no, man! I don't need a 3D printed fake card from Kurt. Okay, if you're gonna make me honorary Mormon, I want it to be a thing. All right.
We can go baptize you one of these weekends.
I've been swimming. I'm good. Kurt, that wouldn't be honorary, Joe. That'd be real. That's not the same thing.
We'll
it was real to me.
I just want to be magic underwear adjacent. I don't want to wear it. Kurt, don't be a boomer, Kurt. Just roll with it. Leadership. I know you've held leader positions.
Yep.
How'd you get there?
So I actually read this a little different. So I'll roll with it, whatever.
Whatever you want.
Well, because you said, how do I get into leadership?
Okay.
Which is different.
Sure.
Because sometimes you become a leader because nobody else will do it, right?
Yep.
But I think that how do I get into leadership? How do I become a leader? I think starts honestly by, this is going to be a little cyclical, so just go with me. It starts by being a leader. And what I mean by that is by showing leadership traits. Like, what would you like to see in a good leader? And part of it is the typical lead by example type thing, but also exhibit those qualities that is becoming of the better leaders. And that is things like encouragement and providing the proper tools and resources and an open line of communication with whoever you're dealing with. And this is the harder part, because some people, particularly in the tech industry, aren't great at this. Showing and genuinely being empathetic. A lot of tech folks are not, because they go, feelings, what do I need to fix? And okay, but I can tell you, I have had situations where somebody's had a technical problem. We go in, can't fix it, can't do anything, and they call us in a panic on a Friday, and on Monday they're in no different shape. But by Monday morning, they are thanking us profusely for our effort. And finally believe that we are on their side and trying to get things done. In any other situation, they would be ticked off because the thing is still a problem on Monday morning. And that has everything to do with empathy and communication. So, to be the best leader, in my opinion, it's not about you. It's about them, whoever them happen to be. If you care more about solving their problems than your own problems, then your problems will go away.
Okay.
So for me, anyway, again, I've gone through now decades of great leaders I've worked for and dealt with, and terrible leaders, like just really bad people.
Those are called bosses.
Yeah. That really is a differentiator.
Yeah,
it really is. And so in fact, in the company that I work for now, we are not managers, supervisors, or bosses. We are leaders. And
Yeah.
one of the books that I've read recently is you think about things as a leader and follower mentality. And what we've been nurturing and where this book goes is we want to get rid of the leader follower mentality, and we want the leader mentality. So even people that work for you, you empower them to be leaders. So, and the difference is, hey, Charles, I really need you to get me the final Wise and Nerdy logo so I can,
Charles.
so I can print us a really cool 3D sign. And versus Charles, all I want you to do is come to me when that's finished. So you are empowered to just get it done in whatever way you need to get it done.
Set goals
and come to me, but you can come to me and say, hey, I think we should do this. What do you think? If there's a decision on that. And my response would probably be, oh, I trust your decision. Do whatever you think is best. Because I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not even saying you need my approval. But if you come to me with hey, I think we should do it this way, and here's why, and a solution, and it's good, and again, I can tell you my opinion, but if you come to me with that, then that already shows initiative and nurtures trust. I can trust that you'll get it done. That kind of thing. So we deal with trying to nurture other leaders who passively end up becoming mentors to new guys.
That's what you want. Right?
That's what you want. So I've come around in a long way to how I view leaders, very different than I used to. So that's all.
I was going to say it a little differently, and I'm glad you went on, because I think we definitely landed on the same page. Because when you said, well, it's not about you, it's about them, I was like, okay, I fully disagree. Leadership is about me first. But then you were talking about what you meant, like, oh yeah, no, we're on the same page.
Okay.
Is if I can help you, empower you to solve your problem, if there's no, okay, let me rephrase that because of certain things going on. If you take care of the issues inside the house, there's no issues outside that can get to you, right? You all on the same page. And so as leadership, as a leader developing leaders, I mean, how I got into it some of the similar ways you guys talked about, which was being the oldest, being the one. I'm very ADD impatient, and I mean, dude, I hit 6 foot tall at 14 years old. Everybody else around me was small. So I'm always this big, loud, goofy guy because, at 16, you're still kind of a klutz and don't know what life is and all of that stuff. So I just leaned hard into it. But leadership process pretty much is, hey, there's a problem. I'm going to bring a solution, right? There's trash. I'm going to pick it up, that kind of thing. And that's how I ended up getting there. And the short version could be, I ran my mouth, and the second I was asked to back it up, I give it my best effort. I never just ran my mouth like, oh, I was just talking. It's like, no, okay, I'll take a shot. And sometimes I was made a fool of because I didn't know what I was talking about. And sometimes I nailed it. And, and there's everywhere in between. Random kid says Charles leads with the verbal whip to a point. Earlier this year, I was actually challenged by one of my partners, and he said, dude, you are, I don't remember how he phrased. He's very good at phrasing things. He's a former salesman. And one of the only people in this world who claims to be a salesman that isn't a slime bag manipulator, bad person. And I don't remember how he said it, but the gist was you suck at hard conversations. People are getting away with stuff because you don't want to hurt their feelings, basically. And because I just knew how I was beaten down verbally and emotionally and mentally growing up. And so I did overcompensate. But one of the things in my success early on, actually, I'm wearing my one EMS jersey tonight. Early on in my EMS career, one of the things that made me successful was just not giving a crap about people's feelings. It's just like, no, we're here to do a job. I'm not here to be your friend. I don't care. I wasn't their boss or leader or anything. I just didn't care. I was like, I'm here to do a job, period. And looking back on that, I was very successful. I got pushed more and more into leadership roles and I was hard to deal with, But then I went through a phase of my life where I learned more of I always had the empathy as a storyteller. Of course, I always had that connection with humans, but I had to deal with trauma. I had to deal with other things and work through it. But that earlier this year, that challenge came back up because he's right. Is instead of going, I need these results. Like you said, Kurt, I want to put a pin in that. Come back to what you said. That leader follower thing. It is symbiotic. It is very yin yang, right? It's you to be a great leader, you have to be an amazing follower. And if you're gonna be an amazing follower, you're really leading people, right? And by that is my problems in life with leadership came when I could outrun them and they weren't harnessing that and encouraging that, but instead trying to stifle, and you can't stifle a tornado. And that's what it was with rage and everything else. And so it would just break. And I finally found some good throughout my life, from school teachers or whatever, educators to different leaders and that kind of stuff. To even to this point of, okay, like you said, Kurt, it's like, I want results. We need to get here. We need to get to this marker. Show me what you can do. And I'm here to empower you. I'm here to guide you. I've got, in this case at my job, I've got 30 years of experience when most of my leaders have 10 at the most. And it was a paid attention to 30 years of this is why this happened. Oh, I learned that and I remembered it. This and this and this and this. And yeah, random kid says Kurt gets results, 160 pounds of it, 100%. Okay, I'd miss this one. If Wise and Nerdy had a bingo card, the free space would be, is Charles wearing a jersey?
Right.
Because the answer is always yes. I am. For the shows and stuff. That's my public persona. Anyway, but yeah, Kurt, I'm glad both of you tackled different aspects of it. What you do in leadership, how you got there. But the thing that I had to learn was the results are what matter. There was a great motivational speech, and it's a mixture of 3 different speeches put together. Tony Robbins, one of them. I don't remember the other 2, but it's hard to find, I think, because they labeled it interestingly. And it's called Get Hard, and it's all this other stuff. And YouTube, it can be euphemism, and it wasn't in this case, but I think that algorithm, it's hard to, I forget to bookmark it, so it's hard to find sometimes, but it was this thing of, hey, my job is to put food on your table. So if I've got to do the hard thing, our friendship, it was more about friendships and those kind of things, like business partnerships, those kind of things. It's like, no, our friendship is after hours. Right now, we got to do the best for what's good for the company because we're in this together. It sounds similar to what I might not be saying it clearly, but it sounds similar to what you're doing now, Kurt. The
one place that I used to think completely like that. The one place that I think I've come to a different point on is the friendship end of things, and I struggled with that. I still struggle with that because I think there needs to be some separation. However, I think that it gets into a gray area when you genuinely want to care about the person. And if you genuinely care about the person, then you speak to them in a different way and you treat them differently than just a professional way. So to the example, random kid put in a comment here that says a rising tide lifts all boats. And if he had put a period on that, I would be, yes, absolutely. But then he said, but sometimes you have to throw some problems overboard. To which I say, that's utter nonsense. And the problem with that is my way is hard. It's really, really hard. And the reason it's hard is, like, for example, we had a couple of people at work who were not carrying their weight. And they, in fact, not only not carrying their weight, but were underperforming and causing harm.
Okay.
So we do not have a 3-strike rule. We opted early on that we're not going to do that. And so they had gone through 2, sometimes 3 managers of sorts, 3 people that they reported
Leaders.
to, leaders, but 3 leaders that they reported to, right?
Sure.
And other people had, like, they were running out of ideas to help fix them.
Okay.
I, even though they weren't in my department, said, let them report to me. Let them report to me. And I sat them down and we came up with a plan. And I said, here's the one thing you need to understand. That if you don't succeed, I consider it a failure on my part. Because that means I didn't give you the right tools. I didn't communicate in a manner that you could understand properly. And I still, to this day,
Okay.
do I, like, now I have like
How did it work out?
So 2 of them are thriving successes in the company.
Cool.
2 of them quit.
And I think I get what Random Kid's saying, and I agree with him, and I also agree with you. And there's ways to do it, but I phrase it as not everybody can go to the promised land, right? There have definitely been some people. If you hold a standard, which you guys sound like you do,
We do.
and I imagine Random Kids is referencing something like that. You hold a standard, you're going in the same direction. If somebody doesn't want to meet the standard, you're on. 2 made it, 2 didn't. You didn't run the 2 out of the company. They just. I love what you said. You said everybody else is running out of ideas, and that is the thing for me. Is just because I know you phrase it to be fun or to be whatever, to get a rise out of us because we're tides and we got to lift boats. But sometimes you have to throw some problems overboard. There are some people that I do have to look at like, hey, you just don't fit with this culture. I mean, everything about it clashes, but they shouldn't have been hired in the first place. They still, I didn't hire them, but it's responsibility on me. When you said it is your responsibility to get the tools to get this, but once you've done, here's all the tools, and they won't use them. Well, I think the results you get are typical. They leave. Now there are some companies that don't take that time, and there are certain situations like we have like 2 hard and fast rules in our company, and only one of them will get terminated on the spot, and that's because it'll kill people. That's the bottom line. It's like you cannot just do distracted driving. That's and it is like no. This is there's a extreme line, and that extreme line is distracted driving will kill people. You can't do that in our industry. So if you're caught on your phone, blah blah blah. But other than that, it's very much coach, box them in, reposition, work the strengths, and get results. And the bottom line is, I've told one of my managers they have a clock on them, and I phrase it this way, Kirk. See what you think. I said because they know that. Coming back to my story about being challenged about having hard conversations, my partner was right. And I really had to go, okay, the hard conversations are the best ones, the most truthful ones to go, hey, this isn't working. Let's acknowledge that this isn't working. And as a person who runs the company, I need it to work. I'm trying every which way. How else can I help you? Right. And give them the opportunity to step up.
Okay. You know, what's funny is like, I don't consider those hard conversations anymore. I think I used. I think I used.
That's a great term. That's a great term.
I think I used to, but now it's just an evolution of we try to get everybody to improve always in whatever way we can, right? And so if they're underperforming, we just need to focus their improvement in a different area. And so that whole thing. You had mentioned that the thing that gets you fired, right? There's one thing in our company that automatically gets you fired.
What's that?
One thing. If you lie.
Oh, yeah, you did mention that. Yeah.
And it doesn't matter about what. It doesn't matter at all about what. If you lie, you're fired.
Yeah.
So you know, and so everything else though, like when I have those conversations, I'm like going, okay, here's what we can acknowledge. Our data is showing that you're just not putting in the hours. or you're not putting in your notes, or your time entries aren't being done in real time, things like that. So what can I do to help that make that easier for you to follow?
I know I'm a little bit harder stick on that.
Yep.
I this is my personality. I've owned it.
Yeah,
That's why I say leadership is about me. If you own who you are, I do listen to other people. I let other people take leads, so on and so forth. But there's a time. I mean, I know it's joking, but there's definitely a time I lead with the verbal whip, and that's just brutal truth. It's like coming back to how I phrase it to my manager of like, we have been bleeding out of this base for what is it, 11 months now.
Yep.
And we've done okay. You've put in effort, but you're not listening to me. You're not. I've tried a bunch of ways. I've tried to focus you. I've oversimplified it. So I have to take my hands off. At this point, you know what you have to do. You're empowered. I'm here to give advice. I'm here to help you with anything I can help you with, but I'm not talking to you about it anymore. You've got till January 1st. I don't know what else to do. And other people, the owners are helping, encourage, and holding accountable. But to Random Kid's point, and then I want to hear Joe's take on some of this stuff. Everyone deserves a fair shake, but some people are simply unwilling to improve. I have found in my industry, and it sounds like Kurt and yours as well, I have found that if somebody in my industry, paramedics want money. And some of them really do believe, because that's how companies treat them, that they can do whatever they want and you'll pay them, and then they can just go somewhere else. In my industry, I go, in my business, I go somewhere else. When you're very clear that Charles, and you argue the rules, I say this phrase: you're fighting the guidelines of what makes this company successful. I really wish I'll talk to you all day long about it, but if you don't choose to step up to our standards, I'll write you a recommendation and help you get a job somewhere else, because if you're going to fight, you're not going to fit, and it's not the right fit for you. But ultimately, those people work themselves out. I could count on one hand how many people I've fired in the last 4 years. Yep. I mean, it's because the rest of them, if they're unwilling to improve, Random Kid, in my experience, and it seems like maybe in Kurt's, you just keep on that standard and say, this is what we need to do. And they will fund it, because they don't want you to talk to them all the time. They don't want to know that it's obvious you've been given the tools and it's just you, man. You're not doing it. So they will go somewhere where they can feel better about themselves, maybe fit better. I don't know. But Joe, as more of a professed employee in this situation than a leader, our tactics, our talk, or whatever. I know you went through a bad situation with a bad leader, but what is your take on this from what we're saying from your perspective? I had it until I tried to say perspective.
No, I like you said, I've seen that dichotomy of good leadership and bad leadership professionally. My previous leader, he really liked to micromanage, and it was very evident that all of his goals were just bullet points for a resume, that he was just planning on being there 5-6 years or whatever, build his resume and get out. And so he was providing us with tools, but they weren't the right tools. Like I've talked about how he decided that we needed a series of classes on a tool that we had one script that hadn't changed in over a decade that used that tool. But he decided all of us, regardless of whether we'd ever touched that tool, needed to do like 6 classes that were week-long classes about that tool. And again, it was a resume thing. I guarantee it, where he was like, I taught all of them this amount, or like, and he tried to even like talk to the director and get that class offered to like the entire area under her. And she's like, or I think at one point he even wanted to open it up to the company, and the director's like, yeah, no, we're not footing the bill to teach everyone this. That's not happening. And whereas and now I've got a team lead. My manager, actually, now my current manager, he only talks to me every so often. He steps out of the way and knows that we can handle it. Like, he doesn't micromanage us at all. He's there if we have something to bring up to him. He'll listen and try to fix any problems that come up. Other than that, he just lets us work, which is awesome. And it also shows that he trusts the team leads that are under him. And my team lead is fantastic. He gets us the materials that we need. He's all about making sure that if we don't know something, hey, talk to this person, get in contact with them here, go read this material. And he's also willing to go and do some of the research himself if he doesn't know where to look for it. And he's very much willing to go out and look and say, and then come back and be like, this is what I learned. Here's links to where you can learn it too. And so he's very, very good.
All I know is you've been a great employee for the last like 8 years, but I've never got a world's greatest boss mug from you. I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. Let's put it this way too. I phrased it to one of my managers today. It's like personal take, straight up personal take, oversimplification. But I feel like my job as a leader is to duplicate pieces of myself, make other leaders constantly, so that the biggest accomplishment is I'm gone and nobody knows I'm gone, because it just runs, right? And they're doing it in their flavor, in their way. And so to that end, I feel like it is my job to own all of the crap, take all of the hits, take responsibility for every bad thing that happens, and to give all the credit away. And in an oversimplified way, people are like, well, that's unbalanced, but it's not, because when I do that, people step up and say, no, I had part responsibility. I also made it. Sometimes they go, no, I literally made that decision. And I'm right there going, but like you said, Kurt, it is on me to make sure, lack of better words, that you do right, or you can do right. Yep. But then when you give all the glory away, say, one, they feel recognized, they feel seen, and they feel like a major part of the team, because typically when I do it and with the people I've picked, always, they know that it was a team effort. Like they spearheaded it, but I made a way, and their partner made a way, and this made a way, and the owner made a way. But that reflects that gratitude, and gratitude is everything. Back up, like they were recognized, they were seen, they were celebrated, and they're grateful to be a part of what we're doing, and shining it right back up. And in a nutshell, that's it.
Yeah. So Random Kid said another thing. Everyone deserves a fair shake, but some people are simply unwilling to improve. And I refuse to believe that. And so that might be a character flaw on my part, but my refusal to believe that drives me to dig more into the individual employees. So here's the thing: when we have employees that end up being on a performance improvement plan, the performance improvement plan doesn't have necessarily a time limit on it. It is really, how do we get you to be a productive employee, doing the right processes in a way that will serve you. And so honestly, like one of my big questions I ask of all my employees is, what do you want?
Aligning goals is an effective tool.
Well, but no, here's the thing. See, that's the thing. When I ask that, a lot of times the employee will say, well, what do you mean? And I'll say, okay, so if tomorrow you came into work and you were working at your dream job, what would that look like? And I also usually have to say the caveat, and it doesn't need to be what we do here.
Yeah, you've talked about that a little bit.
And remarkably, people either have a good idea, or I have this kid who is working for me right now. I think he's 22. And he goes, I'm 22. I don't know what I want to do. And I went, oh my God, thank you.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Because a lot of people that age, and I really don't mean to offend anybody who might be in that age and listening. I really don't. But a lot of people that age think they do know what they want.
Oh, absolutely. What I wanted at 22.
And
It's not what I do now.
But that's the thing. What they don't know is
Yeah.
that they don't know.
Yeah. You think you know, but
You think you know because you're invulnerable at that age, and I get it. Like I was there, and I thought I knew everything too, or not everything, but I thought I knew exactly what I wanted.
Yeah.
And that changes. We have I talk to people who were saying, well, I don't want to do this because I don't want that to be my career. And my answer to that is always, what makes you think that's going to be your only career? Like people change careers all the time now. Like it happens. So and random, yes. To quote the Spice Girls, tell me what you want, what you really, really want. Because it matters. And let's say, So let's say Joe is working for me as an IT guy, and his main area in IT is automation. But Joe says, if I had my druthers and I could do anything that I want to do and work anywhere, Joe says, I would love to do 3D animation. But I know in this job, we don't have any need for that. Right?
Sure.
I might say, well, what if we can find a way to at least help you a little bit along the way? So what if you were to become a 3D animator, what would you need to know that you don't know now?
It's rather ironic you say that, because that basically happened at my internship. Like exactly what you just
said. Really?
I had to come up with a senior project for college, and it had to be something I've never done before. So I picked 3D modeling, and I approached my boss at my internship and said, "Is there any way I can do that here?" And then, get paid for my senior project.
Right.
And I created a program that would 3D model their products, and you could mix and match and stuff. And they had it on their website for a little while, and I guarantee it's not there anymore. But they were kind enough to let me do my senior project at work and get paid for it.
Right. But that really does speak to, if you care about the employees and you care about their progress and their goals, then frankly, they will provide you with loyalty, hard work, and appreciation. And it's kind of simplified, but that's just what it is.
And sometimes they'll do a podcast with you for a long time. That's the show today, everybody.